All right, so we're diving into some interesting news from Discord today, specifically their announcement about this new encryption protocol, DAVE, because digital privacy is kind of a big deal these days.
Yeah, it's definitely a big deal. And with so many people, especially younger people, using Discord, any changes they make to their privacy settings are going to have a pretty widespread impact.
Huge impact for sure. So let's break this down. What does DAVE actually do? And this whole end-to-end encryption thing, is it as significant as it sounds?
Oh, it's definitely significant. Imagine this. When you're on a call with Davy enabled, your voice and video data are basically like wrapped in the super secure layer that even Discord themselves can't see through.
So no more eavesdropping,
Yeah,
even from Discord themselves.
gotcha.
But I'm curious, how does this actually work on a technical level? The article mentioned something about WebRTC and MLS.
Right. So basically, Davy uses WebRTC and this thing called MLS message layer security to scramble the data from your calls and manage these encryption keys. It's pretty complex stuff, but the gist is that only the people in the call have the right keys to unlock and understand the data.
So even if someone managed to intercept that data, it would just be gibberish to them.
Exactly, like trying to solve a puzzle without all the pieces.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
There was another thing about MLS that caught my eye. I think the article said that it allows people to join the call later without compromising the security of the entire conversation.
You got it. That's one of the really cool things about MLS. Even if someone joins a call late, they can't access anything that was said before they got there. It's like each part of the conversation has its own little security bubble.
That's seriously impressive.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be super complex to manage, especially for those massive group chats Discord is known for?
That's a great question, and it actually brings up a really interesting aspect of Davies' design. It's designed to handle large groups pretty efficiently. But you've hit on a key issue here, the balance between security and moderation.
Ah, right. Because they also mentioned that Davy only encrypts calls, not messages. And they specifically said that choice was for moderation purposes.
Exactly. They're trying to walk a fine line between protecting your privacy and making sure the platform stays safe. Encrypting calls make sense because those conversations are often more sensitive, but messages are a different story.
Because they're worried about, say, harassment or hate speech slipping through the cracks.
Precisely. Discord says that if they can't see the content of the messages, they can't effectively moderate them.
So, if I'm understanding this right, even if someone reported a message in a call for being abusive, Discord wouldn't actually be able to check if it violated their rules.
You got it. It's a tough dilemma, no easy answers here. On the one hand, strong encryption protects your right to private conversations. On the other hand, platforms have a responsibility to prevent harm.
And it makes you wonder, how effective are their moderation policies in the first place? Do they have a good track record for catching this kind of stuff, even when they can see the messages?
That's a valid point, and it speaks to this bigger picture of transparency and trust. They've faced criticism over their moderation practices before, and this move to encrypt calls while keeping messages accessible raises important questions about their approach.
Which brings us to another point from the article, this whole publicly auditable thing. They brought in a third-party security firm, Trail of Bits, to look under the hood, right? What's the significance of that?
It's huge. Trail of Bits is a really well-respected cybersecurity firm known for their thoroughness. Having them audit Davy E's code adds a layer of independent verification that's essential for building trust.
So it's like getting a second opinion from a specialist,
Yeah.
basically telling us, hey, this Davy thing actually seems legit.
Exactly. Transparency is key, especially when you're dealing with something as sensitive as user privacy. It's not enough to just say your encryption is strong. You need to be open to scrutiny and independent verification.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting to consider this in the context of what else is happening in the tech world. The article mentioned the GSM Association, the folks behind RCS messaging. They're also exploring end-to-end encryption.
That's right. And it suggests a potential shift in the industry. For a long time, strong encryption was seen as this niche thing, often associated with, let's just say, less than savory online activities. But now, with Discord and potentially even SMS replacements adopting it, we might be seeing a turning point.
So, are we on the cusp of this golden age of digital privacy where everyone's conversations are locked down tight? Or is that a little too optimistic? A golden age of privacy. I like the sound of that.
Well, maybe, but it's probably a tad early to say for sure.
Right, of course. Of course. Always good to temper the enthusiasm.
Absolutely. But it is a fascinating development. This move by Discord and even the GSMA looking into encryption, it seems like something is shifting. More people want control over their data. And maybe, just maybe, the big players are starting to get it.
So, where does all this leave us with this whole DVE situation? I mean,
Yeah.
what's the takeaway for our listeners who are, really invested in this whole privacy issue?
I think it's a step in the right direction, definitely. But, and this is a big but, there are some caveats. DV makes calls more private, sure, but they decided to leave messages unencrypted, while also saying they're all about user safety. It makes you wonder.
Yeah, it does seem like they're trying to have it both ways, doesn't it?
Exactly. And it's not just Discord doing this. It's a tension we're seeing across the entire tech world, really. How do these platforms balance user safety with privacy? How much control should they actually have? Where do we draw the line? These are tough questions, and they're only going to get more complicated as technology keeps moving forward.
Big, complicated questions for sure.
Mm.
And you know what? Something tells me this isn't the last we'll be hearing about it. But we are out of time for today's deep dive. We hope you found this whole DBE thing as interesting as we did. And until next time, stay curious and stay safe out there.